Okay, so officially, Christina, you are my very first guest.
Yay.
On We Did It podcast, because I'm sorry, Scott, but you're kind of like a pseudo guest. I think that if we sometimes share the same socks, then it doesn't count as like a guest.
Yeah.
So one thing that we're doing on We Did It podcast, from podcast to podcast, and one thing that I'm going to ask you to do at the end of this one is to ask a question to the next guest.
Okay.
Now, you have no idea who this guest is going to be.
Okay.
So it can be honestly just
anything.
Wow.
Okay.
So you know that Scott was my last guest. So this is the only one where the veil is completely taken down.
Okay.
But his question to you, just to get you up and comfy, is what is your favorite thing that you purchased last year?
That is like a heavy question because of like the topic of our conversation. My favorite thing that I purchased last year. I have two. One, I immediately thought of clothing, but it is, this sounds so obnoxious, but a secondhand YSL moto jacket that I bought off of Depop.
That sounds amazing.
And I guess my very coveted Sony A7 III.
One thing that I really want to have you say is basically just who you are. And I really want to go into how we met because it's such a cute story.
So my name's Christina. I am a pharmacist full-time. That is what I do because I feel like normally when people introduce themselves, they immediately say what they do. So that's my natural progression into introducing myself. I also run the YouTube channel and Instagram account Style Apotheca, which is like a lifestyle Instagram account, YouTube channel that's also very focused on minimalism, loving what you have, sustainability, and low buy. So shopping less, using what you have more, and just setting yourself up for success in that way and freeing yourself of the wanting of things constantly.
This is one of those things that you've been completely branded as the past year, which has been so cool.
Yeah.
And just the fact that you're a pharmacist as well, that is also really cool. And that's why Style Apotheca.
Yes, that's why. I feel like I have to explain it to people because like when I first came up with the name, I actually wanted to take my whole channel and everything in like a beauty direction because it's like, oh, I could, as a pharmacist, I understand ingredients and efficacy of things and the evidence behind why we use certain skincare ingredients. But I never really took it that way. Like my passion was always fashion. I did not mean to rhyme.
Passion was fashion.
Yes. So that's like where it was originally supposed to go, but it just naturally went into fashion and I just sort of stuck with the name. And now everybody even tells me, because I thought about rebranding, to be honest, but people are like, no, like we know Style Apotheca, like that's you. And I was like, okay, so that's who we are.
I feel like it still certainly applies, even though it's taken in a different direction.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Mm-hmm. And one thing that you said too, where you just immediately say your job, that is me too. And I'm honestly really trying to figure out what to say that's not that. So I'm going to do that for you right now. So the first time that we met, I was like starstruck, which is hilarious because
I find that too funny. Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God, that's Christine over there. What the heck is happening? So basically we met because, well, I knew you from social media, but then as well, we are with the same branding company. So basically they're like our agency for media and management, and they help us book gigs.
Yay,
and they
platform.
They help us do the thing that is creating and getting paid for our work, which is so wonderful. And you're right, platform media management, a huge shout out to them.
Yay.
And every single summer, winter, they will have like a little kickoff party where they have all of their brands come out. And I went with Scott, and I knew of so many people on the roster, but I only knew a very small handful. And it is so intimidating because, to be honest, I'm the smallest person on the roster when it comes to numbers. And you never know how people are going to treat you when you walk in a room and you're looking at someone with like tens of thousands of followers, even 100,000 followers. And I saw you and I was like, please be everything I want you to be. And you were that and so much more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting because we're all just people.
Totally.
You know? So like, that's amazing that some people have more followers, and I think we put them on a pedestal in some way, like even unconsciously sometimes. But when you start talking to somebody and just having a normal conversation, you almost forget all about that, you know, when you just start like having a conversation like we are and like Like, that's not any number that like you might associate with your identity or with your brand. Like that just doesn't come to mind for me. Like when I'm talking to you as a human being, which is like the way I'd want to interact with somebody anyway,
100%. I always think in those moments too, like it's so easy to revert to that. I feel like it's almost our monkey brain. It's some sort of hierarchy that we put on them because it's just this new social way of living.
New like celebrity status kind of thing.
100%. And after I meet someone, I just remember how they made me feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I can tell you, I went on like a brand trip. It was my very first one and I was so excited. It was like an opportunity that I had to I got to go as like an influencer, but I also I was hired as a photographer. So it was like really exciting for me to be able to kind of go as both, because it was like validation for me that, like not only was my platform growing, but people were recognizing my work as a photographer, which was amazing. But I can tell you that, it was like a much more isolating experience than I ever thought, just because a lot of these people like know each other when they're in certain circles. And when you're new, it's very like, I find it's when you have a certain personality type where it's like, for example, like you're shy until someone speaks with you, which is like very much my default. But there were people there that noticed that I was like shy and kind of off to the side a lot, and those people who brought me in and started talking to me and like welcomed me as kind of one of them, like that's who I remember the most, and that's like who
that makes me feel so happy.
Like so it's just I mean, brand trips are interesting. You definitely remember how people make you feel as opposed to your follower count, I guess.
What I think of too when it comes to social media is, in my mind, because there are so many people that I've met through social media. It's really funny, actually. Emily from Threads and Blooms.
I love her.
She's just such a darling. Please check her account out at Threads and Blooms on
beautiful
Instagram.
Flower arrangements, beautiful home goals. And like Pinterest, just times 100.
100%.
Yeah.
And she is that in a human. Like she is just such an angel. And we actually met just because I liked and commented on all of her photos, because I'm that person.
Totally.
And she would comment back on mine, and I just felt so honored. And then we found out that we knew a similar person, and we ended up meeting up. Like, this was my first blogger blind date with Emily.
Oh my God, they're such blind dates. It's so funny.
It's so funny. And do you know what I think it is? It feels like you're in a club in high school. Yeah. And it's just like worldwide, we are all looking for the club we want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And these people are interested in what you're interested in. Yeah. And that's why you would join a club.
Yeah.
So like both of us love photography. We love style. We love content creation.
Yeah.
And that would drive us. If we were in high school together, we would probably be in the same club.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you put it that way, because that's like our generation high school clubs. Like, I remember that. Yeah, it's cool because like sometimes like social media can be very it can be a very competitive and dark place to be sometimes. And you have to, be ready to accept all those realities. But at the same time, it's such a powerful tool. Like I wouldn't have met you. Just like there's like just like the opportunity to meet people, and like when you finally meet in real life, if you've been commenting or DMing or are chatting over Instagram stories or whatever, like you already know the person. So by the time you meet, it's like an old friend at that point, which is so cool to me.
There's like endless opportunities for good as well,
for sure,
when it comes to raising each other up. So this is my experience. So Scott and I kind of identified who we were. And if you guys don't know who Scott is, and I keep saying his name, he's my partner. And we did our first episode together, just the one before Christina's. And basically, we would describe ourselves as extroverted introverts. So sometimes I will go to brand events. And especially at the beginning, I would go to brand events alone on purpose because I knew that I would push myself out of my comfort zone. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to travel solo on the east coast of Australia. And I found that I met and chatted with more people than I ever would have if I was actually with someone. But one of the things that I've realized about the community of bloggers is a lot of people are introverts.
Yes.
And so
it's true.
When you're approaching an event, and I really want to get into the event space because it is tricky. And we were just at an event the other day.
Yes.
When you're in an event like that, just know that sometimes yes, it's super cliquey and people will look across the room. And even at this event we were just at, I saw you and I was like, oh, safe place, safe place. And I just like ran over because I just wasn't really it was a very loud event.
Yes.
And it wasn't as conducive to meeting people. But normally in that scenario, when I first started, I would go alone and I would just walk up to a group of people and I would be like, hi, my name's Amanda and this is what I'm about. Who are you? And just ask people questions about themselves. Cause sometimes it seems like people are being snooty. Sometimes they are,
but they're just being shy.
They're just being shy.
Yeah, that's kind of how because I would often go to events on my own too, and not in such a brave way to put myself out there, but just because like I just didn't really have anybody else that had the same interests as me in my immediate circle. I guess. And
we've identified each other as being like different in social environments.
Yes,
like you were chatting a little bit about social anxiety before this too. So.
Yes, and I am very like. I'm sure you can even, I'm awkward right now.
No, you're not. You're doing a great job.
So, but I'm very shy and timid at the beginning. And I'm not really sure how to keep a conversation going necessarily in certain scenarios and stuff. And
I was going to say, I would have never got that. Because we literally just talked on the street.
That's just like the way I self-perceive, I guess. I don't know. But for me, it's very much about vibe. And if I feel a warmth from somebody, then I know I can start to be more comfortable. So that, I guess that all just depends on the first encounter or the first few encounters. But yeah, I used to go by myself too. And what I realized is that like, if this is how I feel like I desperately just want someone to talk to me, or I don't want to be that person like on my phone pretending to text someone, or, pretending to check my socials. I just want someone to talk to me, and I know that that's how other people feel too, because like whenever you feel a certain way, you are for sure, as I've discovered like in this low buy stuff that we'll talk about today and everything, you're never the only one. So if you have to be the person to start the conversation, then just start it.
Christina, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have you on here was talking about low buy year. So I know what it is because of my inspiration through you, but can you just explain what is a low buy year? What does it mean? And like, what's the goal?
Low buy is an interesting topic and an interesting term because it can mean whatever it means to you. And it's such a personal thing. But for me, last year, I really realized that I had a problem with shopping and had to admit to myself that I would say I was like a full out shopping addict. And a lot of that I think that was inherent in me since as long as I can remember. I was always a spender, never a saver. I would spend my money as soon as I got it. I loved fashion. I would always be spending my money on clothes. Like even as young as like grade 7 and 8, I'd be like shopping at like Stitches.
But the thing I find about that age too, which is so tough, is it's so marketable.
Yeah.
And that's when you have so much disposable income because you have no other responsibilities for things.
Yeah.
And maybe this is for you too, when I started my blog, you constantly thought you needed to show something new and something that someone could purchase.
So you read news articles about men and women, but bloggers, people interested in that world, going in thousands and thousands of dollars of debt because they think they needed that Instagrammable lifestyle, that Chanel bag, that avocado toast, any of those material things that you can share to elevate the highlights in your life. I would say I was definitely one of those statistics. So I didn't go into credit card debt per se or consumer debt per se, but I have a very sizable student loan that I was completely ignoring, and I'm still in student loan debt. I have about $56,000 left to go. I'm just gonna like say it, and it was 6 figures before that. So, and because pharmacy school is very expensive, and I kind of had this dialogue in my head, or people would say, oh, you'll be a pharmacist, don't worry, you'll pay that off in no time, don't worry about it, you're going to be making all this money.
I've heard that before so many times to any friend that has ever applied to be a doctor or anything like that. I've heard that come out of someone's mouth.
So that's what I was walking into my career and adult life with, that mentality, and I was also spending every single penny that I got on stuff. And before I started my Instagram, it was just on stuff for work, so I could look nice at work, or so I could potentially, so I might go to this dinner sometime, or I might go to somebody's wedding. So I was constantly spending money in the wrong places while being in debt, while living in an expensive city like Toronto, and I had no plan. And I kept blaming like where I lived, like having to pay expensive rent, or I'm not at the top tier of my pay grade yet in my job. I had all these excuses as to why I still was in debt, and like why I wasn't hitting like milestones that my peers may have been hitting at the time, like buying houses or buying cars, and like that, you know, superficial, I think, things too, but also like goals that I have for myself. Like I want to own property one day. I want to be able to travel, things like that. But I wasn't doing any of those things because I was shopping. And I realized that like I was still in debt. I was still blaming the same thing 5 years later. And it was because I was burying myself in stuff and in clothes and buying things on a weekly basis, twice a week. People at Aritzia knew my name. So for me, I had to really admit to myself that there was a problem and I needed to come up with a plan. And I had to address my constant wanting of things. That to me is what low-buy was. It was a way for me to address finally trying to get out of debt and become financially free and like start building the life that I want, and also to like no longer find my worth in what I had in my closet. For other people, it can mean so many different things, just like minimalism and being environmentally conscious. Like it means so many things to so many different people. I've actually never revealed how much debt I'm in.
Does that make you uncomfortable? Because
not anymore. It did in the past.
As soon as you were saying it, it's so funny because I find that, I mean, I as well am going through this low buy year, and I've had to confront even just, I think my confrontation of it has been the emotional side.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people know you as well from your YouTube channel and the low buy videos that you have been doing, and they've really been taking off in the last year since you kind of established.
Yeah, they really resonated, which I was like
the
floored.
Relatability.
Yeah, I was floored by it, to be honest. Like I just put it out there and I was not prepared for the like it was, I don't want to say onslaught, but just like the positive feedback and the warmth and like the just how many people are going through the same thing.
Vulnerability is so scary.
Yeah.
There's so much shame that is all woven in it.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is that when I heard you say, see it, like it, want it, get it, and like those kind of things. And then as well, like the tie into emotion, like shop when you're happy or celebrating something.
Yep.
But also when you're sad, also when you're bored. Like the emotional tie-in to all of this is so complicated.
Any excuse, like for me, when I was in the depth of it, any excuse I could find to shop I would take it. So yeah, exactly. I'd be out with some friends for a dinner. We happened to be close to some shops. Oh my God, let's go shopping. Cool. Like, oh, you're getting this. Cool. Me too. Like, I'll get this. We're all doing this together. Yay.
Yeah.
And then I had a really rough day at work. I should probably go shopping just to like, you know, I need some
cheer myself up.
Retail therapy. Or like, I always want to like that meme, that where it's like, oh, people ask me where my money went. It's either hanging in my closet or I ate it. And I'm like, that was my life.
It's funny because it's prefaced as almost like a joke, but
and it's like, not funny.
It's not a joke.
And it's like, yeah. And I think like, I get the humor in that meme, but now I'm just like, shit, that hits so close to home, and it's not funny. And the fact that I think now I feel like a lot of people like a lot of millennials or a lot of young people think that that's okay to like make fun of being broke. Why do you want to continually chase a credit card bill for something that you're not even wearing, and put yourself through that stress, or be worried about how you're going to pay for your gas next, or how you're going to pay for your new transmission or something, like real life emergencies that will come your way that you might not be prepared for because you're out not you, but like for me personally, like I was out.
Proverbial you.
Yeah, like I was out buying. Like I prioritized getting a new camel wool coat over making sure I could pay my dog's vet bill or
have a little safety emergency fund just in case.
Yeah.
So this one thing happened to me the other day and I immediately thought of you and I was like thankful to think of you. So just to preface that too.
Yeah.
Just because of the community that you've built. Facebook, Low Buy Beauties. Yes. Hello everyone if you're listening.
Join. It's great.
It's so great. And Christina has really rallied around creating this community. So the other day I was out with friends, 2 of my best girlfriends. We were out for dinner and it was at Sherway Gardens. And we had a wonderful dinner and we were all chatting and I was like, there was one product that I was like, Kate, you are able to get this from Sephora. And we were all getting excited and we were like, yeah, like after this dinner, let's go to Sephora. And then we didn't realize it was a Sunday and we walked out and it was like 6:10 and the mall closes at 6. And so it was at one of the restaurants that was attached, but you had to go outside and then go in the mall. And we look around, all the shops are closed. And immediately the dopamine high that I was riding from the idea that I was able to go and make a transaction, not even the idea that I was acquiring a product, but literally the idea that I was
spending the money,
making the spending. Yeah. I immediately had this cortisol jump that made me feel so silly, but I was aware of it.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't like her. We don't like this girl.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, wow, that's real. And did I need that thing? I completely understand there's a difference between needs and wants. And sometimes it's okay to want things.
Absolutely.
And maybe not justify, but like allow them to come into your life with conscious consumerism.
Yes.
But that was a moment where I was like, yeah. We're on this path.
What I'm even learning now is I think I almost got more like more of a feedback loop from the sheer act of spending, of like adding to cart and putting like my information in and like saying okay and waiting for that email to come of, okay, your order is confirmed. That almost was like what I was seeking, more so than even getting the thing, because by the time things shipped or it got to my door, half the time in the depths of this, I would have forgotten that I even bought it. And then I would also, at this point, packages were coming constantly. Like my boyfriend, Jeff, would always he'd be like, oh, another package, eh? Like he knew like something was, like kind of, what are you doing? And I would find ways to try to hide it. Or
more
I would
shame.
Say, or just be like, oh, it's like, they're coming separately. These pieces are coming separately.
Or it was like sent from someone and it was,
so there was things like that, but it's good that you mention, the like conscious consumerism, because that's the thing that I'm trying to grapple with now and share now, because the one thing I do see a recurring theme in people trying to do their own low buy or no buy. So low buy, I think, is in moderation. That's the approach. And no buy is a complete cutoff of anything that you decide in your own rules, what you're allowed, quote unquote, allowed to buy and what not. But the recurring theme that I see a lot is guilt. Guilt of wanting things, guilt of starting to covet, of craving to shop, become like starting to obsess over, like having something coming, like a want to recur in your mind. So people really, I think, struggle with this feeling of guilt. And I did too, because sometimes that mindset can be very stoic in a way. So that's one thing that I'm trying to figure out now. And I want to, like, as I go through this, I want to be able to share that, because I think low buy and no buy can also become very unrealistic. And create a lot of unrealistic expectations for real life. So it's just finding that balance and like managing that guilt that can come with it too.
So when you said that before, when you were saying the process of filling out that shopping cart and then pressing submit, so scientifically proven, the anticipation releases more of the happy drug than the actual
receipt of the thing.
Acquisition. And so that's what I find so interesting as well, is that neurons that fire together wire together, and it's going to take some work to like rewire the brain. So now we have tackled the issue of where Christina, you are coming from low buy, and then even myself overspending. I always was just like overspending because I felt like I needed to be someone that I wasn't. And I was acquiring a lot of emotions, and tied into that was just like watching what I had always watched whilst growing up. Yes. And what I want to kind of figure out from you, and even to share with the audience, is what are your rules? How do we tackle it? Let's start tackling and chipping away.
Yeah. So your rules can be your own. My rules have changed from my first low buy. I did it for the 2019. And a lot of people think in that year I shopped, like I didn't shop at all, which is not true. I did have slip ups. I had, and I talk about that. So don't expect to commit to low buy or no buy and be 100% perfect. And this is your journey, and there will be dips. There will be peaks and valleys. So like, just know that, and that every step that you take is forward, and there's something to learn from for whatever happens. So just keep that in mind. But my rules, so mine are very centered around my debt. I am very, I would say like I am obsessed with wanting to become 100% debt free. Yes. Yeah. So I followed the Dave Ramsey plan, and I'm on the debt snowball. We can talk more about that later if you'd like, but I live, so the first thing that I did is create a budget, in terms of so I know where my money is going. I'm giving every dollar that comes my way a name, instead of me chasing after that money and figuring out where it went.
You're telling it where to go.
I'm telling it where to go. So my first rule is, does it fit in the budget? So if I catch myself wanting a certain thing, which I do all the time, I think I've put myself in a unique and I'd say precarious position being a fashion influencer, while trying to do a low buy and trying to consume less.
Yeah, we were talking about that off camera a little bit. And
yeah.
It's so hard because
it's very interesting.
You're always just trying to do your best. Mm-hmm. You're always just trying to send the right message.
Yeah.
And you're just a person trying to define a brand. Sure. Mm-hmm. But you're also living your life.
Yeah. And so it's like, I'll see, oh, I really like that blazer, or I don't have that in that color. Maybe I kind of want that. So I deal with that all the time. And don't think that you won't either, because it's natural, and we're fed advertising and things to want constantly. So it's an uphill battle all the time. And half of that is not our fault, because it's just like what is shot at us on Instagram, on the radio, on TV, constantly. But so the first rule I have is, does it fit in the budget? So if it doesn't at that time, and so budgeting for me, like I plan it at the beginning of the month. So I have to sort of think ahead. And I think this can be related to like meal prepping. If you're on an exercise program, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So if I know that I am eyeing a certain thing, then my second rule is, if you catch yourself wanting, then you have to wait. And I never did that in the past. So you can give yourself whatever waiting period you'd like, whether it be an hour, sleeping on it, a week, a month. I have to wait to see if I really want the thing or not.
There's a reason why there's all those little items at the checkout line.
Oh, yeah.
There's a science behind it.
I know.
I remember reading The Wealthy Barber.
Isle of Doom.
Oh,
yes.
The Isle of Doom. Like, maybe I'll just try that. There, I remember when I was a kid, I was so obsessed with reading financial planning books. And I was reading what the heck? Now we're having this conversation too. I'm like, where did all that knowledge go? The Wealthy Barber, there was this one person who would freeze their credit card, and as soon as it melted, then they could make the decision.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
How fun would that be?
That's so cool. Yeah. I know, but now there's Apple Pay. What do you do?
Yeah. Or just maybe not bringing your credit card or debit card into the mall.
Yeah.
Even
or
that
can be a rule in itself anyway, for your certain things on your hit list that you know that you have an issue with, or that you tend to find yourself impulse buying or overspending on, clothes, makeup, food, whatever. Make a rule of cash only. Like, put hard stops in for yourself, and you know yourself best. So whatever creates friction and resistance to you going through with an action, you can do that. So cash only.
Again, moment speaking scientifically to your brain because your brain feels that pain of giving cash away because you worked for it. It's that physical feeling.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite things about brain science when it comes to spending.
And it's a thing too. It's been studied, like you tend to spend more when you swipe with plastic because there isn't that flinch or pain response compared to handing out cash. Like I'll never break my 20, but I will swipe or tap my debit card as many times.
Oh my God, Christina, I
I
find a toonie and I'm like, this toonie, I value this toonie.
I know.
I can buy so many things with it.
So many things.
Yeah.
Don't go spending it all in one place. So creating a budget, making sure it's within the budget, creating a waiting period for yourself. A third rule that I have, I do have some rules around cash and credit or debit only. I find I need to get a little bit better at that. That's more so from a budgeting perspective, as opposed to like a low buy hit list item perspective. But another thing is to create a clear set of rules around what is in your low buy and no buy. So find out what it is that is creating grief for you. What were your
things?
Clothes. Clothes will always be my thing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that though.
Yeah. So clothes, makeup, food. For some people, it could be things like Uber. Where do you find yourself constantly or consistently overspending?
Being like, it's okay. It's just one thing or
where do you find yourself consistently reviewing back at your statements and either regretting it or wondering why you did that. So creating a clear set of rules around that. And I'm not saying you'll never need to buy another lipstick again, although I've never run out of lipstick ever.
After you said that in your video, Christy, I was, I thought about that. I still think about that all the time.
Yeah.
It's just the one that you use all the time, but then you'll have so many other ones. It's so true.
So many same but different. It's funny you say that because I recently did like a closet inventory where I tried on every single piece of clothing that I own. And the main thing that people said was like, wow, you have a lot of the same but different, like a lot of duplicates. Yeah. So it's like, I know what I like, but I'm like always searching for like that little bit of better of what I have.
It's so funny you say that because the one thing that used to always irk me when shopping, and I even said this in one of my videos, was when you're shopping with someone and you're looking at something that clearly you have a type.
Yeah.
And they say to you, don't you have that? And I'd be like, oh, well,
I know.
I like this one though.
Yeah.
This one's this one.
But this one's got like a slightly different like button, and like this one has a zipper.
That's a hard moment. Yeah. But then it's almost reflecting it back and being like, why did I have a pain body about that? Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't represent that. It represents a point of lacking. It represents a piece of myself that I felt that I was trying to fill with a consumer good that could never be filled with a consumer good.
And that's why I have a closet full of the same white button-up like blouse, because I was constantly looking for that perfect item.
Yeah. And it's not a Steve Jobs thing of just wearing black turtlenecks every day.
No, exactly. No. I think he had like the same turtleneck every, like, the same 12, but mine were all slightly different because one was slightly different than the other. One was slightly better, and it was supposed to be that perfect thing where I didn't need to find that thing ever again because I had it, and that never happened.
Or you'd be like, if I have this, then I will go to that blog event and I will wear it and I will feel so confident in that room. And everyone will be like, she has value.
Nope.
And it's like, oh no. I really want to get to your other rules, but I do want to say this because when we were at the event the other night, we were chatting so much about this.
Yeah.
And it's so true because sometimes you go to it and you just feel like you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Mm-hmm. And I almost say you're trying to keep up to the Kardashians now because that's who we're comparing ourselves to on a material plane. Instead of like back in the day, you would live in a community and those were the only people you compared yourself to. Yep. Now you have the whole world and you see everyone wearing their best stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it makes you think that you need that stuff to fit in with that group.
Yeah.
And so desperately in life, I think whatever we're doing, wherever we are, whatever community we're a part of, all we want to do is fit in.
Yep. Yeah.
And we just think that that's what we need to fit in.
I know. And then the thing that I'm learning is that if I am meeting an amazing person, like when we first met, maybe I complimented
and I was wearing a garbage bag and you talked to me. I'm just kidding.
Maybe I complimented you on your outfit, fine. But I'm never looking at someone's feet to determine if I want to be their friend or not. That's not where I see value in a human being or a relationship that I want to cultivate, you know? Like, sure, you look cute, but that's not you.
Yeah.
That's not the you I want to know.
100%.
Yeah.
Tell me your soul.
Right.
Okay, so now we have been through a few of the rules. I know there's a couple more. You have one specifically to do with gift cards.
Yeah. So this I got from, so the person who really inspired a lot of my low buy year when I first did it was another YouTuber on here called Louise Poston. She's amazing. She is so like, she has like the most soothing voice, but she's
like real too.
Yeah. And just very well spoken and well thought out and just very introspective into her own shopping behaviors and things like that. But she did. So we love, as just like humans, we love to see the extremes of things. So she assigned herself to a strict no buy year, and she did it. Like, she really did not buy a single thing for an entire year, unless it was replacements. By single thing, I mean like she still bought groceries and whatever.
Like,
but
whoa.
Yeah. But like, you know, things
That's
are on
Campbell's soup. She's
things that are on our hit list. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She mentioned the thing about gift cards, because you really have to think about your gray areas when you're deciding to create this set of rules for yourself. So if you have a store credit or gift cards, how are you going to use it if you want to use it? Is this, at the 6-month mark, if I haven't bought anything on my hit list, am I going to reward myself here using this? Or if I need to replace something, is that when I use the gift card? So because it's money, but it isn't really. So it's up to you to decide how you deal with that sort of gray area in that.
One of the things that I try to avoid as much as possible, if I'm doing this low by year. And it's so hard because you say low by year, but you're really trying to change your lifestyle. This is really hopefully going to be something that you just adopt for life and pass on to kids if that's a choice, or friends or whatever, because every friend I've talked to where I'm talking to them about this, they are saying, yeah, that's me for sure. It's so hard because when you get a gift card as well, say it's for $50. I don't care, but if it's a gift card for $50, I'm so thankful. What a amazing gift. That's a lot of money, $50.
Yeah.
But in a store that is like maybe Aritzia, for example. Love Aritzia so much.
I love Aritzia.
But it's really hard. I know, same. But I'm not going to lie. It's really hard to spend only $50 there.
Yeah, I never thought about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter what, I find you're always going to spend more than a gift card. So you really do have to decide, like, is this going to be, I think my approach to gift cards now is like, it's that I see something, I want it so desperately, and then it built into the budget, but then it's like, oh, gift card bonus. Yeah. And then you apply it to the thing that you want. Yeah. You don't go into the store with the gift card trying to find something that you want.
Yes. So I did a video on how to sort of approach sale seasons like Black Friday, Boxing Day, things like that. And because people think I'm anti-shopping, and I'm not. So I kind of approached that video from a perspective of, this is how I avoid shopping this if I want to avoid it. But if I want to take advantage of sales, or if I want to shop it, this is how you can do it. With strategy. Plan ahead. Think, like, shop ahead of time. What is it that you want? What is it? Did you give yourself that waiting period, whatever period, whether it be a week, a sleep, a month? Did you give yourself that time? And then did you work it into the budget? Like you said, like a lot of things probably aren't $50. So are you working that into this month's budget? So it's all about planning ahead. And again, like for me, it really always boils down to the budget. If you tell your money where to go, then it's not a harm in treating yourself to something.
100%.
Yeah.
What's something that you've learned that's like pretty pivotal in changing your mindset now? Because yes, you're still paying off debt, but you've come a long way from where you were in day one.
Yeah.
And so where are you now? Like, what is something that you are so proud of yourself for doing?
I think I'm just learning to be a lot kinder to myself, because my knee-jerk reaction to a lot of things is just to be very stoic. Like, this sucks, but it's okay. I should be able to handle it. Go on and do your thing. Or when it relates to spending money and my debt, I was very stuck on, well, you're broke, you're in debt. Like, why are you even entertaining this idea at all? And so I would feel overcome with such guilt if I bought anything. And I did a whole video on that. I keep like plugging my videos. Sorry, guys.
Yes, girl, follow her,
subscribe, hit that notification bell.
If we had vows, it would be like, I promise to always like and subscribe.
I know. Right? Oh my God. That's amazing. But so I, like in this video, I just was so overwhelmed with guilt in that I impulse bought a pair of boots. And they were a pair of boots that I wanted from a brand that I loved. I've been like admiring those boots from afar for so long, and I saw that they went on sale. I knew I probably shouldn't have looked, but I was curious and I creeped and I gave in and I bought them. And
it's like you're looking at an ex-boyfriend's like profile or something like that. Totally. I creeped, I did it. I knew it would make me feel bad.
But I was just and at that moment I felt like first of all, I felt like such a fraud, because I was talking about how not to shop, and I was becoming this, like my channel was really starting to pick up, and I felt like I was kind of, people were coming to my channel with this, like looking for this information, and some people even called it inspiration. And so I felt so gross that I did that and so guilty. And I felt like I had to be honest. So and I wanted to share that, look, I slipped up and this is what happened. So I shared that with my audience, and the feedback that I got from that was like, girl, like enjoy the boots, take it as a learning, stop being so hard on yourself. The way that you bought this wasn't so bad. Like it's not as bad as you're making it seem, in that think about the situation for what it really is. Reasonably, you've been thinking about these boots for however long, you've admired them for this long, you worked it into your budget. Like I had to move my fluid money around, which like my fluid money is always in my debt repayment, and I'm trying to put as much money as I can, but so I took out of that pot, which I felt guilty about too, because again, I'm broke. Why would I be doing that? But they were like, you paid for them, you thought about them. It wasn't as impulsive as you think. And if you feel bad about it, take it as a learning and enjoy it. Be kind to yourself.
Because it's only going to make it worse.
Look at the situation for what it really is. Like I have people messaging me being like, oh, I'm really, this makeup that I'm using, I'm trying to use it up because I spent money on it, but it's breaking me out and I hate it. And I really want to buy a new piece of makeup. And I'm like, well, girl, like budget for it and buy it. Like this is how it's affecting you negatively. You don't like it. You're not enjoying it. So, it's reasonable. There's no need to feel so guilty. I talk about this with my therapist. I try to go to a therapist about once a month. And so we're really trying to work through, where is that, like I feel can kind of pull you in two different directions. Like one voice is very almost disciplinary, and then the other voice is like, yeah, come on, do it, it's fun, whatever. So it's like the thing, I guess what I'm trying to say is what I'm really proud of and what I'm trying to find in this is that balance. Is that, where is there a time when it's okay and I feel happy with my decision and content with that if I do decide to buy something or bring something new into my space.
I think it's so interesting when it comes to that, and good for you, because I have seen a therapist as well. Normalizing that conversation, it's one of the best things I have ever done.
Yeah.
It was a little bit different. It was for a breakup, and I was so happy I did it. So thank you so much for normalizing that conversation.
Everybody needs to talk to somebody.
I think that maybe for the listener, because this helped me too, is the next time that you purchase something, kind of like check in.
Yeah.
Be like, why am I making this purchase?
Yeah.
How does it make me feel? And in a week, do I still care?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because how many things are hanging in the closet with tags still on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something definitely to address. Have you tried capsule wardrobes?
I did. I have a video coming out on how it went for me.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. I love asking questions where I'm like, I already know you did. So
I love the idea of it. I love it. I think for me, it's a little harder to execute than I thought it would be, to be honest.
yeah. So if you guys are listening and you don't know what a capsule wardrobe is, basically it's like going through your wardrobe, picking a few pieces. Definitely in Canada, this is like a thing. And as well, I watch a lot of the Anna edit, and she's in the UK, and it's definitely a thing
stuff,
as well.
Right? Yeah.
Because seasonally, and I found that one thing that really helps me is taking away the summer stuff when it's fall and winter.
Yep.
Because then you can see what you have on your rack. Because if you can't see it, you're not going to wear it, and you won't know you have it, and you might buy it again, which is a problem.
Yeah.
And you won't know how to mix and match it. And then at the end of the day, if you have every single thing that you own in your closet, you just feel like you're scaling through a rack at Winners, and you're like tearing apart the rack because you just can't even see what's in between it. And I found that to be overwhelming. Was it overwhelming to go through every single thing in your closet?
It was exhausting. Yes.
That would be exhausting.
Yeah. So I found out I own 242 pieces of clothing. That doesn't include socks, undies, and athletic gear. So
You say that with a very kind of sadness, but I think a lot of us would say the same. Like, I think a lot of us are up there too.
yeah, I think and that's what I find the feedback that I'm getting. Some people listening and watching are definitely minimalists, and it's goals, because I think as I go through this, like low buy as a lifestyle in terms of how to handle money and how to handle sticking to your rules and decision making as a lifestyle, that's something that is so useful and powerful. But I think inherently tied into that is a vein of minimalism and sustainability and all these other movements, I think, that are happening these days. So they're very closely
all for the
tied
better.
together. Yeah, absolutely. So I think just like low buy is in the spirit of less, as is minimalism is in the spirit of less, and capsule wardrobe is in the spirit of less and loving what you have and feeling confident and good in what you have. So they're all very closely tied together, and I'm just like figuring out kind of all as I go through this.
I'm such a person that creates like mantras for life, and then as well whatever I'm doing. So my like year mantra for low buy is looking at my things as things to be desired versus
I love that.
things that I've just acquired.
I love that.
And
I love
it's
it.
just like,
I would get a tattoo of that.
ooh, girl. Maybe that's going to be the name of the episode. Who knows? But like, I think it changed for me when I would hold an item and I would be like, I desire you. And it sounds so wild, but if you stand in front of the mirror and every single morning you look at yourself in the mirror, no makeup on, just woken up, and you say to yourself, I am beautiful, look at me, and you point out something you love about yourself, you're going to start rewiring those neurons a little bit. And I think a lot can be said the same for that. Talking about when you were saying, talking to a therapist and where is this lacking and how do I fill this and how do I feel whole in this section of my life, I think that I also am searching for that nice equilibrium where like you purchase something, you feel happy and you bring it home with pride versus feeling any of that guilt and reverting back to how you felt when you were acquiring all those things. And as well, also controlling the highs. It's so interesting when it comes to, even likes and comments on social media.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
all
something.
instant gratification. And the best part about it is, when I got my student loan for school, I got that in less than 5 minutes. And paying that off has been the opposite.
It's been more than 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it definitely takes more.
Yeah.
And so it's like managing those emotions. And I think when it comes to even social media and likes and comments, it's like take the good with the bad, but you almost have to be like, who's in my circle and what do they think?
Yeah.
And what do I think?
Yeah.
And so Scott said this to me the other day, where if I had a troll, no name, no Facebook, or was it a Facebook? It was YouTube, no profile picture.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
okay,
I
Karen.
know, you know what? I don't know you,
Yeah.
but I know you.
Yeah.
And I had just worked a morning show, Christina. So you're up at 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
You're at work at 3:30 in the morning. You're live on television by 5. And you
you're
probably,
like, good morning.
you're like, good morning.
Yeah.
You're home by 11 and you have, if you're lucky, a boyfriend like Scott saying, time for your nap. And so I had just woken up from that nap. And if you think you feel jet lagged after this 1 hour daylight savings time, this is like a total whiplash. And so I woke up and I just immediately went to my phone, which is another thing that I'm checking in with personally. When I wake up in the morning or from a nap, my phone shouldn't be the first thing that I look at. It should be having a glass of water or going to the washroom, and or kissing Scott on the forehead.
Oh.
And I looked at it and it was a troll comment, not a negative comment, a troll comment.
I've done that too.
There's a big difference.
Where I like check my comments like first thing.
Brutal.
I unsubscribe.
It's like, validate me. Mm-hmm. But I obviously got upset because I wasn't in my whole mind at this moment. And Scott was like, never take advice or never take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from.
I like that.
And I was like,
wow, Scotty is like so full of wisdom. I haven't met him yet, guys. So this is like,
yeah, he was supposed to come today.
Getting primed.
Yeah. Oh, I just know you'll hit it off right away. But I was just thinking about that. And when it comes to purchasing and not purchasing, I wanted to flow into the comments now or how you handle social media in this range of things, because you've gotten positivity, negativity from doing this thing. And now I'm trying to check in. When I get an extremely positive comment, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. When I get a negative comment, I'm like, oof, I'm so sad that you're sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if someone, I just don't know. Like if someone can take the time, there's no empathy on the internet. Like there is so much empathy and so much community and amazing, like there's just so much like amazingness on the internet,
much amazingness.
But at the same time, there's also
Low Buy Beauties Facebook.
Yes,
join it.
Absolutely. Oh my god.
Second plug of
They're
the night.
so good. I
so
don't know.
great.
Like they inspire me and help me come up with just give me perspective on things that I never even would have thought of. So yeah, join Low Buy Beauties. They're amazing. But in terms of like the internet, I like the negative can really outweigh the positive when you get a trolly comment like that. And it's really hard to bring yourself back to all the support that you get otherwise. And I think
especially if you're beating yourself up. It's
we all
like
do.
those comments, when they affect you, they're just reaffirming the worst things you think about yourself, which aren't true.
And half the time, I think, first of all, you don't see how it affects others, but I think like these people are probably spending a lot of their time doing this to other people. So for me, I don't see the value in commenting back or acknowledging it.
Agreed.
Because I think that person's probably forgotten about their bully comment that they left me by the time I get to it. But I think like, how are you so upset and sad with yourself that you need to push that out on me? Like on a stranger on the internet.
I always think this isn't a me thing. This is a you thing. Yeah. And I really hope that you get some help for this. And my platform is not your place to spit toxicity. Yeah. And I'm not going to allow it.
Yeah.
And if it's happening, you're gone. Like I have a trigger finger on the block thing.
Yeah, I do too. If they
that doesn't mean taking away just general negativity if it's constructive.
And I think a lot of people, like, if they're really engaged in your channel or engaged in your content, then I think they put out a lot of thoughtful criticisms.
Yeah. Which can be valuable.
Yeah.
Everyone is on their own journey.
Exactly.
And all you need to focus on is you.
This is not for you. Exactly. Now I'm on TikTok and like trying to get all that figured out, courtesy of like Gary Vee, and that is the meanest platform out of all of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking, like, I really want to get on TikTok and do these fun things. It's mean.
It's very mean. Yeah.
I thought
But I think that's the lack of empathy, because I think the main demographic right now are like very young people that grew up with the internet and like, you know,
savage.
Yeah, totally savage. So, but I guess like the millennials are taking over TikTok right now. So we're trying to spread the kindness. That's what I see. It's like the hashtag over 30. Be nice. Be nice.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I had no idea, but clearly it's just because I'm not big enough on that platform. This is one of the last things that I want to chat to you about is growing your platform. It is hard because the higher you grow, the more you're gonna find that, and
that's
have to
where
deal
I'm
with that.
noticing is like when I was smaller, and I think the support and the you know, the positive feedback and the constructive conversations, they're always there, but now I'm starting to notice more, I'd say more negative, more critiquing,
more critical eyes.
Yeah, as I grow. And I'm not like huge on any platform by any means, comparatively, but like I'm noticing that now. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of just giving a couple of tips on growth on your social media, because I'm going to fire back and say, yes, you are. You are doing phenomenal.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people like me look up to you on those platforms. Your consistency, especially working your 9 to 5.
Thank you.
Something you probably don't pat yourself or give yourself a hug for often, but you really should.
I know, I should give myself more hugs.
You should.
Hugs
I
are
great.
Great.
Unless you were driving a motor vehicle or holding a small child, to give yourself a hug right now from us. Is how would you suggest growing an authentic followership? Because we were also talking about the other day, you know, some of the accounts that you follow may not necessarily be built in the most honest way. So how do you make sure that you are in the category of building an honest, authentic following?
So I think the main thing is to just show up every day and be consistent. And I'm not saying by that as it's, you know, some people might call it the argument of quantity over quality, but I disagree with that, because I think good enough will always grab people more than perfect will. And perfect probably won't ever make its way out there. So you might as well just put it out, because I see a lot of people that are trying to do this, and the feedback that they'll give me is like, oh, I hate this photo, or I hate this. This is so like, ugh, like the lighting is wrong here, and this and that. And
you're like, girl, you looking so cute there.
Yeah. So
you're see yourself how I see you.
Consider it that you are your own worst critic. But if you can get past that and just see like, what is it that you bring that is valuable and that someone else can take value from, and just put it out there, even if you don't consider it being perfect, because it never will be. And someone is going to see the value in what you're putting out. It's going to resonate with somebody. And the more you show up and the more consistent you are, the more you will just you'll become a familiar face. You'll be in the feed, in the suggestions, and it'll just continue to appear. And people will start to recognize you, and they'll start to know like, oh, I go to Amanda to feel positive vibes and see a beautiful work and beautiful photos, and I know that that's she
just kidding.
And I know that that's what she does. So just showing up every day for people to get to know you and become familiar with you. That's the main thing.
Well, I find value in you.
Oh.
And I am so happy that you came on this podcast. One of the last things that we are going to do is I have what's called a channel opening moment. So the whole idea between through We Did It podcast is basically based on the idea of that we're all in this together. And the fact that you created Low Buy Beauties is amazing because that's a very big we in your life.
It is.
And the channel is basically the idea that you have a creative soul. Every single person is creative. We all have this channel and it's not ours to close off or judge. And if we allow that creativity to flow through us, we are offering it up to the world. And if we close it off, it will never exist.
Yeah.
So if you can give us just one thing that you want the audience to think about leaving your podcast, a channel opening moment, I would love for you to do that right now.
I think that if I want anyone to take anything away from this is that you have more worth than your things do. And you have more to offer to any other person or puppy or anything that
living being.
Yes. That it's you that brings the value and not anything you have or that you're wearing or that you're driving. It's you. So just to keep that in mind the next time that you catch yourself feeling like you need a certain thing to be worthy. And I think that's what I want people to know.
Well, Christina, I absolutely adore you.
Oh my gosh.
I love you so much. And I just want you to tell everyone where to find you and what you're working on right now.
So you can find me on Instagram at @StyleApotheca. How should I spell it?
Yeah, spell it out for us.
Oh God, I can't spell it loud. StyleApotheca. That's my Instagram, StyleApotheca, and my YouTube channel of the same name. And I have a blog that I should probably post on more often, also named Style Apotheca. So check it out. Like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, do all that. Yay.
Well, a huge shout out to Christina. And as well, I would love for you guys to check out our social media channels. It's at We Did It Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and as well my personal channels at Below the Blonde on Instagram. And you can follow me along on YouTube. I'll probably be giving Christina huge shout outs on YouTube. Amanda Weldon, while you wait for our next podcast. Guess what, Christina?
What?
We did it.
We did it! Yay! Oh,
I could have reached you.
amazing.